Hello, friends. Hello, audience, fans, haters. Everybody is welcome to watch this show. I got a few points to make. Number one, if you notice, uh, so few points. The first point is if you notice that the Democratic leaders who were supposed to be on the side of Trump, on the side of Biden, right? That's their party, that's their platform, that's their mission, and so on and so forth. The prominent members of that party, whether it's Pelosi or Obama or Schiff or Mnuchin or Manchin or whatever, and quite a few others, right? They were waiting on a slip or a little mistake or whatever it is to come against Biden. And that's like questionable, right? Because now the slip in the debate, and it's not poor performance, let's put it this way, they're trying to make it everything that it is not, right? And they're trying to not make it everything that it is, right? So that's like an eye-catching. It attracts attention. Why are these guys going against Biden when they're supposed to support him, right? So they have an agenda. Now, they did not go after Trump, even though Trump has so many problems. Not one of them uttered anything, right? Uttered any word or made any statement or issued any criticism in regards to Trump and that he should drop out because he's a convicted felon, he's about to be sentenced, he's done so and so, he's done so and so. The guy is, he has like so many runs in with the law that the guy is straightforward criminal, notwithstanding his relationship to Putin, and Mao Zedong, and others, right? He criticized, if you recall, Biden of giving $6 billion to Iran, right? But if you recall, in that obscure, stealthy, hidden, mysterious meeting with Putin in Helsinki, right? Do you remember that? When he kicked out his staff, and whenever those Putin's people or heretics, right, came into the White House, he kicked his staff out. It was a private meeting and so on. But then after his meeting with Putin, he waited a few weeks later and he talked to Iran, right, out in the open. He wanted to talk to them anytime, and he's ready to talk to them anytime. So go figure, right? This guy gets instruction on a daily basis from the outside world. But now let's go back to the Nancy Pelosi gang or cabal, right? Like, she never went again after Trump. Not one of those. And I told you that Obama is a brother of Trump, right? And he was preparing for Trump. Obama was surprised to see Biden go into the White House. Biden, when he was chosen as a vice president, he was just like a placeholder, similar to, according to them, similar to Dan Quayle, if you will. But they were surprised, they fell right through, and to them that was a big failure, right? Because they were on a mission to change this world into Animal Farm and whatnot, right? That said, if you recall, when at the end of Obama's second term, right? Pelosi and Obama and quite a few others, right, went against Trump and said, and they forecasted and they predicted and they prophesied that Trump will not be a president. Do you remember that? Trump will not be a president. But what was that all about? This is what's called reverse psychology, meaningly. When Obama came into office and he insinuated to you, he never said, he insinuated to you that he was a Muslim, right? But he is not, and the whole media went about talking about him as being a Muslim and not. The man is Jewish, right? And they abused the economy and the country, and they really basically did a job on the economy and the country and stole trillions, as I expressed and explained in my last video. Now people hate them, right, for having done what they've done to the country, and people now, according to them, according to what they stated and their stand against Trump and for Obama and whatnot, right? And so on, right? Now people will, according to them, they will try to vote for Trump because this is called reverse psychology. Yet it didn't work out, so they worked out some kind of electoral college or delegates deal or whatnot, and then they brought Trump into the White House in spite of the nose of Hillary, right? Even though she was a winner, right? But uh, now you can sort out a conspiracy, right? You can sort out a very, very elaborate setup, very elaborate conspiracy here. We're talking about a very sophisticated, very deep state and so on conspiracy sitting there. And they don't want this Biden. It's that simple, and they didn't want him from the get-go, as a matter of fact. But they had nothing against him and they couldn't get him out. And guess what? That one slip or a couple of slips in the debate, look what happened, right? And as a matter of fact, I have been observing Biden just prior to the debate for a little while now. The guy has been suffering from motor problem. I have no doubt that they have been able to fix that, probably give me a second, probably in Camp David. So the guy got something, right? But he didn't lose his mind. I mean, he's smart. The guy had like an opposition from within his own base that's unjustified, that's meaningless, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to give you an idea. Who is Nancy Pelosi? She has a whole cabal in there. She is the leader, actually, of that cabal, the Trump cabal, right? And the Obama cabal, not the Biden cabal, right? I'm going to play a segment of a certain old movie for you. And you listen to it carefully, okay? And that's who, right? I call her Mrs. Baylock, Baylock. That's Nancy Pelosi. She's Baylock.
Who is it?
I'll call from her. Here are my references. Thank you very much.
Here are my references about your first nanny. So they sent you another. That's it.
What if I could see your boy?
If I could see your boy. That's the nanny. That's Nancy Pelosi. She's Mrs. Baylock.
Now? Yes.
Now that's Lee Remick talking, as well as Gregory Peck, and she says yes, of course. Now she walks to the boy. The movie is The Omen in 1976. That's like Mrs. Baylock was resurrected to be the leader of that cabal in the Netanyahu cabal in the government halls of the United States. Keep listening. Now she enters the room of the boy, right? Listen. And the boy is sitting in front of the fireplace. That's very significant. The significance of that is big. The fireplace, fire, flames, like shoots and so on, and playing, right? And he's looking at her as if from within the fireplace. Guess who's that, right? That's your 666, the Omen. Now they lock eyes, right? Have no fear, little one.
I am here to protect thee.
She's here to protect thee. Okay, so that's who Nancy Pelosi is, right? You may think she's like a Constitution and democratic values and founding fathers. They keep talking about that day and night. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. So that's point number one. So Obama, rather Biden did like a very couple of mistakes, and I have all the reasons to believe it's them who like probably spiked his drink or food or something, right? Now point number two. The assassination attempt is fake. That's very obvious. But here's something that attracts my attention. Always does, right? The cabal of Nancy Pelosi, as well as the, the Obama, the Schiffs, and who, whatnot, and so on. Give me a second. Right? he who, and so on and so forth, right? They know. And we all know that this was an act. As a matter of fact, what was very visible and distinguished or conspicuous is the number of attendance. It was very low, not even, I would put it at probably 2,000. Nobody mentioned that, right? I think the whole thing is arranged. Everybody who was there participating in that conspiracy, in that plot, in that orchestrated and fake assassination attempt on Trump. I believe everybody who was there, everybody. The only one that I am suspicious of, or two probably, suspicious of, is the guy, Corey, who got killed. Maybe he was just there to be killed, right? Sent in there and, they got him somehow, maybe, I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe he's still alive. I really don't know. And the guy who was supposed to be the shooter, either he was killed before that and so on. Now, the videos of him laying on the tin roof and as well as so and so, it could be done later by AI or even before, prepared before the fact and so on. So videos, you cannot trust videos. However, when they showed him sauntering around, entering the scene, the area, walking about behind the fence and so on and so forth, I didn't see an AR-15 rifle on him. AR-15 rifle shows very clearly. You can't hide it in your pocket, right? But then to me, it looked as if this was meant to be shown as a fake assassination attempt. That is very visible, right? It's very visible from what they're doing. They're showing that this assassination attempt, and the ear that has no stitches or wounds, and the performance of that bad actor, Donald Trump, right? And so on. Donald Vladimir Putin Trump. Or Herbert Hoover Trump. Biden was right about that. The worst economy ever in the US history is that of Trump, and before him probably Herbert Hoover. I don't have much information about what happened then, but I would say, because Herbert Hoover is way back in time, the budget of the United States and the size of the United States and was not as big. So Trump overtakes him by far, followed by Obama, followed by Bush. I think those three basically. So so that is shown, right? Is shown to be a fake. I mean, it's very obvious. The bandage, and it's very obvious. And I was like, this is botched. But then it hit me. You see, my friends, this is this is a threat. This is a hint, insinuation to Biden, and I think Biden understood that. This is a hint. This is what we're gonna do. Blah. That's what they're saying. What they're gonna do. Blah 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 blah. So and so and so. This was a message to Biden. That's all I'm seeing now, right? Is that, and I read a report saying that Trump said that Biden will stay in office or return to office over his dead body, right? So that's that. Now, in conjunction with, and that, of course, along with the crowd strike or carpet bombing, and I explained it. It just doesn't happen this way, folks. There are test environment, UA, blah, blah. There are many environments you test it on before you release it. And the test environment is not that expensive. All you have to do is to have is just a very thin virtual machine with that particular OS. You apply the patch and reboot it. And if it has any problem, you go correct it before you deploy it worldwide and cause mayhem. But that was also an ominous sign along with that fake assassination to Biden, And I think Biden, understood that, and that's what I'm thinking. So that said, give me a second. So here are two things. The assassination attempt was, in fact, a threat to Biden. Hint: you either leave or else, or else. That's what it was, the message. And then the that global IT attack, right, which was carried out by none other than a well-known US company, right? So it doesn't take a hacker, right? Could it be an accidental? I find it far-fetched to be an accident. unless that crowd strike is manned by total idiots, top down all the way through, right? Just doesn't work this way. We know that, right? So that's that. These two items, and the third item is this. You know, Netanyahu comes and speaks, right? Delivers a speech in the joint session of the Senate and the House and whatnot, right? And not just that, at one point, okay, that's like full of lies and nothing new. For me, at least, for what I know about history, what I know about things, nothing new really. I mean, the guy was sounded like there's some kind of a tone of desperation, undertone of desperation of what's happening there, of all the killing that he and his heretics that Netanyahu committed here and there in Iraq and Syria and Afghanistan and now in Gaza, and they're planning on Lebanon, and it just doesn't. It's not working. That Gaza is a calamity for Israel. That Gaza and conflict is a calamity. Is a colossal problem. Is a give me a second. Is a catastrophe. It took all that military history and military image of might and defeated force and so on, and unraveled it and put it down in the dumpster, right? Right now, and we're talking this monstrous war machine that has been there for a while, and this monstrous army and so on against few guys with RPGs and stuff like that, and it's been 10 months. I mean, it's a revelation about the fake wars that happened, about the setup, about what's going on, has been going on, and the underlying undercurrents and what's going on in the Middle East, right? This basically exposed Israel to what it really is. Israel exists solely on the West and here and there, right? Protected by the outside, supplied by the outside, financed by the outside, and everything is on the outside. Netanyahu realizes that fact, as a matter of fact, and there's an underlying desperation. That's why for him the only solution is to eliminate and liquidate and basically do away with everybody else in the world that he and his cabal and his heretics deem as unworthy of living or an undesired element, right? That's the only solution. Why? Because he cannot live in peace with others, right? That's all there is to it. And last century, how many hundred millions they murdered? In the Soviet Union, what's called the Soviet Union, in Europe and the Middle East and Africa and here and there, and the Americas and whatnot. So, but now look at it. He, at one point, and here, this is the point I'm trying to make here. I'm focused on this particular part. He prodded or reprimanded or shouted at the attendants, right? The members. Like, don't applaud, just listen, right? I'm like, whoa. Folks, you guys have him as a guest, right? And he's speaking to you as a guest and you're supporting him. And he just shouts you down not to clap or support him. To me, it looked like, first I thought it was, it was something like he got carried away and he was eating on some hard candy so he can keep his throat, his saliva going. So this keeps the throat lubricated and wet, right? This is a well-known practice. What they do is when they're speaking or on the news, they keep small piece of hard candy under the tongue, right? And that stimulates the saliva. That's why he appeared as if he was eating something. Maybe he's chewing that Yemenite khat. The khat, those Yemenite Houthis, whose leadership is from the state of Sada, which is the Jewish homestead, right? Well, not all, but I mean, at least part of it. And they all eat khat, and it's some kind of hallucinogenic, right? It's a plant that they put here, and they keep like chewing on it all night long, and then until they're gone completely. So I thought he was chewing some khat. After all, he is supporting them, the Houthis, right? Give me a break, man. Give me a break. So that's that. Now, there are other motives as well, but no matter what, folks, the point of Democrat and Republican is long gone, and right now they're settled down. because they're somehow they're guaranteeing some outcome and so on and so forth. I'm gonna go back and say this. As you can see, it's very obvious. I mean, America is still largely free, right? And the police officer is really the master of the road. That's the ultimate power, is really the local police officer. And on the national level, of course, it's the FBI, which is the national police, right? The federal police. Things America or the United States not well. It's what if you remember, the Ottomans, they used to call them the sick man. And if you understood what that means, you may think sick man is like their weakling, and oh, no, that's not what it means. I'm going to give you an example now. If you watched and if you understand the role of Pelosi as well as her cabal, and the Netanyahu and his cabal, which is all those guys here in the government halls, and the Putin, that's the same cabal, and the Ayatollahs, right, the same cabal, and so on. And there's a photo has been released lately, and it shows you Ayatollah Khomeini before 1979 returned to Iran. He didn't have that turban. He was wearing a trench coat in France, right? Of course, that very long beard. Muslims don't wear a very long beard. Muslims wear this beard down to the Adam's apple, right? But the rabbis wear it all the way down, similar to Osama bin Laden and something like this, right? And he was standing with Mossad operatives, right? So that's that, right? So that tells you what's going on in the government halls, and that's how you call the United States or the government of the United States a sick man. Why? Because it's infected and it's cancered up by who, right? Netanyahu. So that's what sick man used to denote back then. When they called the Ottomans sick man, it's not because they were sick. They were those Turks, the Ottomans. They're great people, right? Under their rule, you enjoy justice and fairness and social justice and and protection and rights, personal rights, and so on and so forth. But toward the end, yeah, I mean, some women similar to Pelosi, Mrs. Baylock, right, of the Ottomans, of course, changed it into a sick man, right? Okay, so that you have here. So these are just the 3 points I wanted to make. But now I'm going to go back and say this, that if Trump goes back, expect perpetual wars in Europe and in the Middle East and here and there, right? And he's going to enable Putin further in Europe, and this will not be, right, demanding Ukraine to cede territory or anything else. No. This is only a cover-up. If and when this guy goes back to the White House, right? Bad things are going to happen in Europe. You know that, right? So that's that. Economic level, on economic level, it's going to get worse, right? From bad to worse. These guys don't bring good things to life, nor do they understand this concept in a country called the United States. No. These guys don't trade with that, don't deal with that. These guys are here, and Mrs. Baylock, the Pelosi, and they are here for one thing and one thing alone. They will consume the United States. They've been doing so, but now it's going to be like an open market, open forum. They're just going to devour you right out in the open. It's a matter of that the Oman thing, like an animal farm. That's all there's to it. So I do think if Trump goes back to the White House, he's gonna spill a lot of blood around the world. He's gonna do that. Not that he's gonna succeed, but eventually, similar to communism, it's gonna rise and then it's gonna fall, right? Rise and fall. But then that's gonna cost the world a lot of souls, right? A lot of good people are going to die and get killed because of their whims and so on. And there, lies. If you look at that speech, Netanyahu's speech, oh, it's full of lies, man. I mean, like 90% of what he did, he said at least 90%. Oh, just straightforward, brazen lies. The guy is not shy from telling lies and anecdotes and stories that are not true, have no foundation in reality, and so on and so forth. What's happening there is very simple. These guys look at those Arabs and they see them around them as a threat. If not now, then in the future. Right? Because they have potential, they have to live, and they feel like everybody else, right? That's their country, blah, blah, whether it's Egypt, whether it's Syria, here and there, whether it's Arabia, and so on and so forth, right? So for him, he makes up a story, he makes up terrorist acts, and right? Uh, and then he goes about killing people, that's all. And even with all that he's got and all the support he's got, yet he's unable to defeat few guys with RPGs, right? And machine guns, right? What does that tell you, right? So now I want to tell you another point here. I want to speak of another point. What do you see in Trump? He stated about his 2025, 2025, 25, 25, if man is still alive, if woman can survive, and so on, right? But then I told you what he's going to do. This guy is going to cause a lot of harm here in the United States and destruction, especially among the whites, right? Those guys from the East Asia, right? Wants to change Europe into Eurasia, but meantime, they don't like these Anglo-Saxons. Their existence and continuation is basically unacceptable. They made those statements. I told you about that before. You didn't believe me, but they eventually came and made those statements that Putin and his heretics, right? But there is another evidence for it, and here it goes. Trump is no different from George W. Bush, right? Do you remember George W. Bush? They put him in the White House regardless of the vote, right? I mean, it was very obvious, similar to Trump, as I explained in my previous video. But what happened afterwards? What happened afterwards is a major terrorist act, right? That's the September 11th. And then all hell broke loose, right? My expectation, may or may not be the case, but what they usually do is basically carry out just after. I would say this is parallel to George W. Bush in office, right? Once they enter the White House, something like terrorist act will happen, and that gives them the reason to go for war, right? That gives them the ploy. It's a ploy, or the creates the circumstances. Now they don't need American people to vote for them, or to tell them not to go to war, or blah blah, and so on and so forth. Now that fake terrorist act managed and orchestrated terrorist act similar to that of 9/11 and October 7, just now, like 9 months ago or 10 months ago. And so on and so forth, right? They would use that as a ploy to begin the slaughter and wars and so on and so forth. And with that, they of course cover up a lot of things. It becomes an umbrella. They shelter under an umbrella, and in there they steal a lot of money. Like, for example, a war may cost $1 billion or $2 or $100 billion, and on account of that war, they steal trillions, right? And they kill a lot of people, and they change hats, and bring the area, at least in the Middle East, under all wars in the Middle East, all wars in the last century and now, or even prior, even toward the end of the 1800s, right? Or starting of the 1800s. All of that was in preparation, and all that killing was in preparation for Israel to take over the area. Of course, they have agents and clients, or surrogates, such as rulers of Iran and Russia and Turkey and the Arab Gulf region, and so on and so forth. That's that. So there is a parallel here between Trump and George W. Bush. And if you ever see a very major terrorist act, know what it is from the get-go. Muslims, Sunni Muslims like myself, absolutely. They're like nearly 4 billion people, right, on Earth, and they have absolutely no connection to terrorism whatsoever. And sometimes what they do is those guys, they would go and indoctrinate few of those Sunnis, right, dumb asses Sunnis, right, and they put them in place where they appear to be the carrier or the actors in a terrorism act, and they would waste them later on, similar to this guy Crooks, right? Crooks, the guy who supposedly shot them up and whatnot. Where is he now? I think he was either killed afterwards or during or before that. The guy is just innocent bystander who doesn't know anything. They tell you they searched his phone and found that he's searching so and so. That's not true, folks. We know that that's all manufactured, that's all fabricated, that's all pack of lies about the man, and he seems to me like just an innocent bystander, a human being who's walking around, and they found him an excellent cover-up. That's all. But then again, that's all there's to it. Right now, I see ominous signs on the horizons, really. And will they be successful? No, and this is no different from communism. Eventually, it failed to achieve what they wanted to achieve, and that's total animal farm for humanity. Those devils, right? Give me a second. Okay, I had a couple of points. I just spaced out on them. But Joe Biden. Oh man, you got 6 months. Yeah, you know what to do. That Ukraine. That Ukraine needs you, man. Unless you're a traitor. Biden, I think at the start he was just, sometimes, it's a little bit confusing, right, Biden? At the beginning of the war of aggression against Ukraine, he offered Zelensky a ride out, a lift from Kiev. Do you remember that? But then he changed. I think he was, I don't know, I don't want to say he's clueless. No, I don't think so. I mean, the guy is smart. But I think he changed as the circumstances did change, because the Westerners were calculating or sizing up Russia, right? And they thought it was something to not to tangle with, based on what they've done in Syria, and they have so many tanks and. But it turned out to be that Russia is really nothing and don't have the capacity to fight a wider war than what they're doing now. Even now, they send delegates and they send Kuleba to China and Iran, but they want to face that situation. They're begging to stop the war, or they're waiting for Trump to go back into the White House. Either one of the two, right? But they're in a bad situation. They're in a corner. And if any European country now, other than Ukraine, enters the war against them, they're finished, right? What they've done in Syria is really no military significance or value. What they've done in Syria is basically genocide against an armed population. That's all. Gases and so on and so forth, right? They used to drop bunker busters on underground hospitals. Why? Because, they're Sunnis. And their feeling about Sunnis, it's exactly their same feeling. They harbor the same feelings against Sunnis in the Middle East or anywhere else as they do against Anglo-Saxons, Germanics and Scandinavians in particular. Make no mistake about that. That they are, right? So, my friends here, I got a few points. Maybe I'll catch up later and add a few more points here. But meantime, have a nice day.